All right, let's go. You're listening to a Songwriter's Journey podcast, and I'm Steve Mac180. I'm a songwriter, producer, and arranger who loves to write songs. The Songwriter's Journey podcast. I've had an amazing journey discovering, learning, and creating music. Songs.
Mac180 Music.
Songs.
Bring the beat back.
Kick back and relax because I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. So with that being said, let's get into it. Today's song, Coulda Lost You, featuring Devin Thompson.
But most of all, I see my queen, the greatest story ever told, almost never came to be. About a year ago, you stood at the door, bags packed, ready to leave.
Welcome, everyone, to the Mac180 Music Podcast. I am Steve Mac180, and I have with me today my beautiful wife, Amy Songbird.
Hello, everybody. Hello, honey.
Hey, baby.
So I am so excited because this is going to be the first of many podcasts that we're going to do.
Yes, it is.
And the basis of the podcast is to speak a little bit on your journey as a songwriter.
Yes, that's true.
And we say journey as a songwriter, but I think, and I'm sure you already know this, they don't know this, but I'm going to say it. You know, even though I'm married to this man and have been married to this man for 26 years.
26 years. Thank you, Lord.
I am his greatest fan. Like, I'm your biggest fan.
Thank you, baby. Thank you so much.
And the reason
I'm your biggest fan.
Oh, you know what? You're so sweet. So the reason I'm your fan is because, you know, you're just amazing. To me, you're one of the greatest, like, musical geniuses. And I know you're sitting over there and you're blushing. I
appreciate it.
But to me, it's true. And I'm not just saying that because I'm married to you, but it's the fact that all of the elements that you're able to bring to a song and make those songs come to life. And I've said this to you before, but, you know, there's a lot of people who can be, you know, producers, which is one of your many hats. And maybe as a producer, their background might have been, you know, maybe they're a musician and they're a producer, or maybe they are a songwriter and they're a producer, or maybe they've gone to, you know, somewhere like Columbia University and, you know, learned the techniques in the studio, the recording studio, as an engineer, and they decided to be, you know, a producer, or maybe they're a singer and they're a producer. But I think it's a rarity when you find someone who literally can wear all of those hats and play in all of those roles. You know, be the artist and the singer and the songwriter and the arranger and the producer and the musician. And you're doing all of that. So at this point, I think we need to let the audience know a little bit about who Steve Mac180 really is, right? Okay. You know, I want to talk a little bit about who you are and give some highlights on your discography. You are an award-winning songwriter and producer, and was a recording artist for Sony Records, and had a publishing deal with Warner Chappell.
I did.
And some of the highlights that you've had, you've arranged and produced the remake for the Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway song, Where Is the Love, which was featured on the Dead President soundtrack.
Shout out, Max.
You also wrote the song Quiet Time for Regina Belle and Barry White.
Shout out to you.
You wrote and produced Take My Breath Away for 98 Degrees. You wrote and produced 6 songs on the Jesse Campbell album featuring the hit single, When You Cry, I Cry.
Jesse.
You wrote and produced several songs on the commissioned Irreplaceable Love CD, which I love that CD. You also wrote I'll Wait for Fred Hammond. You wrote Jerry's Song for Everette Harp and Jeffrey Osborne. In addition, you recently wrote Feel the Breeze, which is a smooth jazz record for Shaun Labelle, featuring the great and fabulous Patrice Rushen. And on that same record, you have the next single entitled Your Love Kept Calling, featuring Stokley from Mint Condition.
Come on now.
And Mesa. And I could sit here and go on and on and on because these are just a few of the highlights of your awesome career.
Wow. You know, I'm really, really blessed and humbled and honored to have an opportunity to share the gift that God has given me, which is creating something out of nothing. One day or 1 minute, there was nothing, and then here's a song. So I'm really, really blessed.
So what is your secret to writing songs?
I fell in love with music a long time ago, and whether I'm writing something that is amazing at the moment or it ends up being what I would consider not so good, I just love the process of coming up with, number one, the musical concept. I love coming up with the melody, what I call the marriage. The marriage is if I have a musical bed, whether it's a guitar or a piano or it's a track, I love going in and deciphering the puzzle. How do I find the right melody that feels like it's always been there? And then after that, what does the song say to me? Is it a sad song? Is it a happy song? Is it an anthem? Is it a song of reflection? A love song, whatever. So just, to be transparent, as I got older, I stopped trying to say, hey, my first draft, I'm dope, that's it. Right now, because you're my wife, there are times I'll write a full song 4 or 5 times.
Or more.
And then each time when I finish it, because I'm nocturnal, I work at night mostly, I'm thinking, man, that's it. And then I wake up the next morning, I go, it's good, but I can do better. And I usually won't let you hear it until I absolutely love what I've come up with.
So basically what you're saying is, songwriting is a process. You're not going to necessarily get it the first take, the first time.
Well, there are songs that have come out when I sat down and a vibe comes, and from beginning to the end or beginning, middle, end, the whole concept comes out and I'm able to express it. But I still have to look at the song and go, is the key right? Is the tempo right? There's times a song might start out as a ballad and I'll say, you know what? I may need to make this a 4 on the floor dance cut because of the way the melody is. So every song has a different journey, but okay. I'm here today and for the rest of these podcasts to discuss my journey as a songwriter.
Okay. That's great. So let's talk about some of your influences.
Okay. That's a good question. For me, number one, I would have to say that the greatest influence on my life as a songwriter, when I began to, really wake up, the light bulb came on and I said, wow, I want to do that. It would have to be Stevie Wonder. I remember hearing Songs of the Key of Life, which was a great record for me. But there was another song or another album that I fell in love with, which was the Secret Life of Plants album, which was very different from all of his other records. But I would put headphones on and just let that wash over me over and over and over. I loved Stevie because his songs were different. He could paint a picture. He could take me on a journey in a song, whether it's Songs of the Key of Life or Inner Visions or Music of My Mind or whatever. And I could just imagine myself coming up with my own version of a story. And that became my goal. How could I write a song that took people on a journey? I know that there are formulas out there and I've done them, They don't necessarily work as much for me because I just have been a person that always really wanted to take people on a musical journey, either musically, because I do write instrumentals as well, or especially lyrically.
Okay. Okay. So what is it about? I mean, obviously Stevie Wonder is a legend and one of the greatest, but what was it about listening to those albums that made music and songwriting come to life for you?
I guess it was, I could see myself doing it. Okay, so one of the first songs I ever wrote was after I had picked up an acoustic guitar and I learned major chord, minor chord, major 7 chord, minor 7 chord. So I learned those chords. I stayed up many nights, hands kind of sore, even bleeding at one point. And I remember taking a major 7th chord and just walking down a couple of frets and then walking it back up a couple of frets. And I was surprised that I was hearing a melody as I did that. So I didn't know that most people did this, but I'm humming this melody. And as I began to hum the melody, of course we had cassette players. So I took a cassette player and I recorded the melody. And at some point I would listen to that melody and then words began to come to me. Usually it was probably that song took maybe about 3 or 4 days, because as I'm driving or as, I was in high school, as someone was driving me, those memories of that melody would come back and it would just start speaking words. And I wrote those words down and I wrote a song.
Oh, wow. Do you remember the name of that song?
Yeah. We sing this song for love. We sing this song for togetherness. That's all. Those are the only words I remember at this point. We sing this song for love. We sing this song for togetherness.
Oh, wow. Wow. So were there any other influences outside of Stevie Wonder?
Oh, well, there are a ton of them. So I got really zeroed in or captivated by the Jackson 5, of course. I Want You Back was one of the first 45s that I ever purchased. And of course, I wore it out. I listened to it day after day. And I wanted to figure out how a musical piece could make me feel that way and how could I do that. Mm-hmm. It took me a long time to figure out the code on that. But there are certain patterns in music. Mm-hmm. And especially coming from a place where I come from, in the church, R&B, blues, jazz, there are certain things that work. Now, I became also attracted to, rock and roll. And I wrote rock and I've written country and written in many different, forms or different ways of expressing myself musically. So that was something that I wanted to learn to do, which was how do they get that sound and how do I get people to respond like the Jackson 5?
Well, all I can say is that you're doing it. You've been doing it. And that's another reason why I'm so grateful for this podcast, because now we get to have, many people across the world now hear what those who've been so close to you and those who've been blessed to work with you have already known about you, all these things that you're saying and all these many gifts that you have. So the next thing I want to talk about is, let's go into, we had a little snippet at the beginning,
okay,
in the intro,
right,
of the next single that's coming out.
That's correct.
It's called Could Have Lost You.
Correct.
And it's coming out when?
It's coming out on March 22nd, which is this week. Friday it will drop. And we appreciate the love and support. Go check it out. Very special song. So, I'm just going to go into it. The song was a track that was sent to me from a brother named Dave Stewart. The backstory with Dave is that I had a publishing deal with Warner Chappell, and on one of my trips to Los Angeles, I met Dave Stewart. I didn't know who Dave Stewart was. Come to find out that Dave Stewart's father is Art Stewart. So Art Stewart is the engineer for Marvin Gaye, and he kind of put together the track for Got to Give It Up. I think the story is that Marvin maybe left the studio and Art put some things together that ended up being that smash record.
Oh, wow. And
Dave sent me a CD. He had been kind of almost having a workshop or woodshedding with Kevin Randolph and Agape Jerry. and they were writing some tracks, and this particular song or this track came to my attention, and I really fell in love with the vibe of that track, but I really couldn't hear anything. So I'm playing it everywhere, of course, around the house, and you actually began humming a melody.
Yes, I remember that.
And I was, of course, I think we had dictaphones, little small cassette recorders at that time, and I started recording you, and you just kept, singing it, because a lot of times I'll forget a melody. That's why I always have a tape player. I used to call my phone and leave messages, voice messages back then, or on our pagers. Remember pagers? And I would, leave myself little memos. But you were singing, and I remember loving the melody you came up with. And at that time, lyrically, we had, been blessed to have some people in our lives to kind of mentor us in our marriage. We were young in our marriage. It was like 23 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And Dennis and Annie Harp. I'll never forget them. And I wanted to express what I felt at that time, which was, hey, man, I'm so thankful to be able to work through issues and problems. But I told the story from my perspective, which was a moment in time. When I write lyrics, a lot of times I'll get an image, or I'll see something kind of in my spirit, and then I'll just need to unpack that. And there's a line in the bridge that says, I saw my whole life flash before my eyes, like in a moment of time. And I use that concept as the launching for the lyric for this particular song.
Well, it is a beautiful song, and I'm glad you said it was from, your perspective. So it's from almost a perspective of the husband.
That's correct.
And as you listen to the song, you can hear that there is some struggles within this couple's marriage. And this husband is basically saying, listen, I don't know what I was thinking.
Absolutely.
But, you're my whole life. And like you said, losing you, things would just flash before my eyes.
Yes, I did.
And I don't want to be at that place.
Correct.
Also, there's a part where he's giving thanks to God.
Yes.
That they're able to mend their relationship.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things I'm hoping, first of all, thank you for letting me be a co-writer on the song.
Yes.
But one of the things that I'm hoping will happen is that, people all around the world will listen to those lyrics, listen to the song. And my prayer is, those marriages that are struggling,
yes,
that there will be a healing process.
I totally agree.
After they listen to the song. I
agree. So then I had to kind of put on what I call different hats. So I'll have a songwriter hat, of course. I don't remember how many different versions lyrically that I wrote, but I do know that I tend to, just being honest, I tend to get a little wordy. So I always try to bring my lyrics down to the lowest common place where I say exactly what I wanted to say in the least amount of words. However, some songs do lend to be a little bit more wordy because you have to tell the story. And this was one of the songs where I really didn't care too much about, I got to drive the hook home. To me, Could Have Lost You, the whole vibe, the whole concept is the hook. Okay. So I went more into story mode. Let me just tell a quick story about, I guess I was maybe 4th, 5th grade. I went to a school called Hermes in Aurora, Illinois. And I would go to the library, and I just enjoyed listening to Alfred Hitchcock recordings. He had these audio recordings of, I guess, what ended up being his TV show.
Okay.
But everything in those audio recordings, those albums, I could close my eyes and see, I could see the whole story, unfolding. And And that affected me. And I kind of kept that with me. I want to be able to tell a story. And as I've grown as a writer and grown as a person, I'm not really concerned or I'm not fearful about if everybody's going to love the song. Number one.
Now, that's powerful what you're saying.
Well, because
that's hard to do, right?
Yes, it is.
Right. I think in today's society, everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame. They want to be well known, and they want, and to do that, you want the audience to like everything you're doing.
That's true. That's true.
But would you say it's really not about that? It's about being true to yourself?
For this song, yes. Now, I have done other songs where it is for an artist. They have an agenda, and my job is to try to, find what that agenda is and give them something that they like and that will get placed or recorded. But this particular song, I wanted it to tell the story of what we went through. And I was blessed enough to know a brother named Devin Thompson, who did an amazing job singing the song and making the song come alive.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Shout out to you, Devin.
So with that being said, I think we should play just a few seconds more of the single, Coulda Lost You.
Almost never came to be. About a year ago, you stood at the door, bags packed, ready to leave. Thought I was invincible. Trying to have my way was a lonely road. I'm so glad that you didn't go.
I could've lost the only woman.
Could've lost the only woman, yeah.
Could've lost out on what heaven on earth was.
Heaven on earth to me.
It's a tragedy.
That was awesome.
Oh, man. Sang Devin.
Yes. So you just finished listening to a little bit of the single that's coming out this Friday, March 22nd. It's entitled Coulda Lost You.
Yes, please support us by downloading the song on Friday.
Yes, absolutely. And it will be available on all streaming platforms.
It'll be available on our website, Mac180music.com. Also, please like and subscribe and hit that notification button.
Yes. So this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of the first of many of your podcasts.
Hey, I had a wonderful time. I'm so glad you were here with me.
I had a wonderful time too. And thanks to all of you for listening to the Mac180 Music Podcast, a songwriter's journey.
And here's to inspiring you on your songwriter's journey.